Yo, yo, yo. How's it going, guys? I'll be sticking around for about 20 minutes. Going to talk about the markets. Going to go through what I am seeing. Just going to let the world know I'm going live to talk about crypto. Happy days. So I'll give it I'll give it 30 seconds. Just let people come in. I'll also send a quick message out. 1 second. 1 second. I need to hire somebody to do this for me. Cool. All right, sweet. So I want to quickly talk about the markets. Let's go over to Bitcoin first. There are a few things, obviously, that are happening that I really want to stress. Okay, the main one being the DXY. So go over to the dollar index. If you remember, I was discussing the dollar getting down here, $100, and I absolutely think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to start ramping up. This is the weekly chart, and the weekly chart doesn't move, and move around similar to an intraday chart or intraday fashion. It just doesn't happen, right? When you see these big, strong candles like this is momentum. You've already had a pop up here, right? It's absorbed pretty much everything that's up in this area. So now at this point, where you see this candle and this kind of swing point being created, it's already taken out the high over here as well. We've got a really nice progressive 3-week run. By the end of this week, I do expect we maybe hover around this area, and then going into next week, if we don't get some upside, I think we're going to continue going lower and lower and lower. And this is just going to be a really strong, move to the downside. And this will just end up being a rally and a downtrend, and as that happens, the effect on the broader markets is obviously going to be quite vast. There is still this tentative nature or dynamic nature of the banking industry. I think that is also going to be a big problem. But if we go over to cryptocurrency, crypto seems to be holding up pretty well, right? Every time I wake up, everything seems to be okay. I periodically check throughout the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 6 o'clock in the morning. I've got alerts set as well for everything. So if price does do something pretty dramatic, I'll see it, I'll hear it, I can react to it. But so far, so good. I'm waking up, I'm seeing everything seems to be okay. I'm expecting this continuation, on Bitcoin, at least to 30K. We came very, very close to that, around about 29,380, which, to be honest, is not that far off 30K, especially for something like Bitcoin, which is quite volatile. But then having said that, and let me just quickly check to make sure that my mic is working. Yes, it is. Evening, mate. How you doing, Ebo? Yeah. So the continuation, I mean, like I was saying, Bitcoin moves like $400-500, $600, $1,000 on Bitcoin is nothing. So I do expect that continuation to the upside. Weekends are also very. We've got to be careful for, we have to be careful going into the weekend, because sometimes weekends tend to do one of two things. Either we see extreme volatility or we see absolutely nothing. There never seems to be this kind of gradual grinding over the weekend. It's just aggressive. So with that said, Bitcoin, so far, so good. Binance is holding in this area, 315. This 48.94, that's part of the portfolio, the experiment that I'm doing. I'm not personally investing in anything until I've seen confirmation or a crash, one or the other. And I'll just quickly give you guys a very quick rundown of where the portfolio is at. So with the 5 positions that we've got open, obviously XRP had a really nice run. I'll go over that in a second. But Binance is the only position that's down at $48.69. So we've started with 50 bucks. SHIB's doing all right. Bitcoin's doing okay. Polkadot's doing okay. And then obviously XRP, it's up about $8.50, $8.51 at the moment. Polkadot's actually being yielded, on the Swissborg app. So making a little bit on that. 5.42% daily. Well, it's not daily, it's over the year, but it's compounded daily. So we'll see how we go. We've got 750 bucks left, to ease in, going through this experiment. But Binance so far so good. Seems to be holding up pretty well considering the CFTC, SEC, and every other acronym, is coming after them. And again, at any moment in time, we could see aggressive movements on Binance up or down. Okay, so definitely something to take into consideration. DOT basically just stabilizing down at these areas, but not. I mean, look, to be honest, anywhere down here is pretty much a decent add. But I'm being patient. Want to see it down about $5, or if it really starts to pop from here, above $8, I'll start considering adding to this position. SHIB is just I'm not going to say it's a risky play, but it's more of a just. We throw 50 bucks into this. If it goes, great. And then obviously XRP, we've had a really nice run. If you remember, I was discussing basically 55. I purchased at 46. And this was the last position that I added. So 55 was comfortably hit. Holding really, really well on this week. So I am expecting a little bit more upside. That's not the correct number. It's 48. It's 58 basically. But yeah, so that's the current markets. We were looking at Arbitrum. Somebody mentioned this, and we spoke about this in the recent podcast that I did. That episode's available on the Rematic Discord. The Rematic YouTube channel. But I can't buy this through the Swissborg app, so I might look to take a position on this. Maybe throw 50, 20 to 50 bucks into this, to add to the portfolio. We'll see. But again, it has to be done differently. Dodge, we were looking at Dodge as well, but again, not getting too excited about this. And then obviously CHSB. I was looking at CHSB, and obviously, with everything that's happening over there with their Series A, I do want to see that last final push lower on CHSB, which I think we could get, down to 11 cents. If that happens, obviously, it's going to be a much better place, to be potentially getting into this, because it's the point of impulse, which should be very, very strong. So I would expect there to be a little bit of stability there if it hits there. So that's the current markets. In terms of the NASDAQ seems to be holding up pretty well. S&P, back above 4,000. Not expecting this to stay up here, and I do suspect at some point when things really, really get bad, could take months for this to happen. But at some point this year, I believe very, very strongly that we are going to be sub 3,000 on the S&P. So with that said, XRP, yes, Rob. So with that said, any questions? I mean, I'm happy to hang around for about 15 minutes or so. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. Don't forget to like the stream. And I'm going to be doing a lot more of these streams going forward. I'm going to try and pick times of the day when we can get a little bit more, engagement. But I'd really appreciate it if you like the stream, if you share the stream, post it on your socials. Which is an interesting thing to ask, because I know sometimes, I watch videos and people say, like the streams, post the streams on your socials, and I don't, unless I really like the stream. So only do it if you really like the stream and the person talking, me. So yeah, any questions? When do you take profit on XRP or DOT? Like I said today, Rob, when we were discussing, because of the way that XRP is moving with DOT, I'm not going to take profits on this until it pops. DOT, Binance, BTC, those three in particular. Okay, I'm more focused on purchasing over a longer period of time. So I don't mind adding to those positions, while we do this experiment, because we're looking for that. We're looking to position ourselves on that bull run. And to be honest, if this goes well, at some point, I'll throw another 1,000 in, maybe another 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, whatever, right? As we start to build these positions and continue with this practical experiment in investing. But with XRP, as I said today, XRP, SHIB, we discussed Arbitrum as well, maybe Doge. These are more sort of just hit and miss plays. I'm not saying that I entered XRP because it was just a gamble. I fully expected it to go up, and this is why I entered, right? But in terms of taking profit on this, because this week is pretty strong and it's holding well, and it looks, you know, relatively strong on the daily. We've already had this stop run up here, but even if it pulls back, I'm not expecting it to pull all the way back down to 46. So I think I'm going to be in profit on XRP long enough to see whether or not that next impulse to the upside will happen. And I'll get a better indication of that going into the weekend. There is a possibility, obviously, that this basically just tanks and falls out of bed, but it would have to be something pretty dramatic, i.e. they lose to the SEC or some news comes out or whatever. Very unlikely at this point. So more than happy to just hold on to this and see what happens. Do you have any opinion on what happened to SafeMoon? It's a tricky one, because what I try to do before I talk about SafeMoon is, and I've made it really clear, you know, throughout the years that I don't like SafeMoon. Right? I've always been adamant, and I've always maintained consistency, right, with my opinion on SafeMoon. Always, right? I don't like it. Yeah, I have my reasons for that. So I want you to know that before I say anything, right? Because it may come across as a biased opinion, right? And that's not my intention. My intention when I talk about things like this is to be as objective as possible, right? And try not to fall into the trap of saying, well, CoffeeZilla made a video. There was a whole, you know, hoopla about what happened there. He did a full series, you know, John Caroni this and and then they had like the lawsuit with his parents and whatever, right? I put that to one side and I just look at one very basic fact. Why does this keep happening to SafeMoon? Yeah. Now, some people will say, well, they've only been hacked once this time. Okay, fine. But there's also a whole host of other problems that keep happening to SafeMoon. And it's become almost cultish in the way that they communicate with their, you know, with their investors, with the way that the investors defend SafeMoon to the death. They will defend it to the death. And it's like, well, you can't see what's happening. So what's the point? Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, I think it's, I'm not saying it's an internal hack or anything like that, and I'm certainly not alleging anything, but for me, it just makes no sense. It makes no sense that it just keeps happening to SafeMoon. There's always something going on with SafeMoon, and then they never seem to deliver on anything. And when you speak to SafeMoon holders who've been around from day one, they will adamantly and fervently tell you, you know, that they are delivering and this and that, but they're not really. They've been around long enough. They've had more than enough money. Come on, guys, man. I mean, I launched RFTX with very, very minimal resources, and we smashed it in the first 3 months. You know, I don't want to hear this crap about, you know, they are delivering or they're about to deliver. No, you're not. You know, if you were in a position to be able to do that when you launched, that would have been the time. You get on, you smash it, you get it sorted, you know, and you start to deliver. You deliver. A lot of these big projects, right, or the projects that have had that first initial wave of huge volume, huge investors, a lot going on, I've had more than enough money and more than enough time, you know, to be able to deliver on their promises, period. Yeah. And I can talk. Before I launched RFTX, I couldn't say this. Having launched RFTX and having released the FSP, having sorted out, I'll tell you, just so you fully understand what I'm talking about, right? When we launched RFTX, okay, in 3 months with very limited resources, very limited resources. In 3 months, we launched RFTX, we developed the FSP, we developed the staking platform, we developed the lending and borrowing, we developed the pension contract, we started working on the mutual fund contract, right? There's some really cool stuff going on with that. And we developed the partition. We had a few niggly problems with the partition when we launched, but we got that fixed because that was a timing issue. The partition wasn't firing properly. Everything was working flawlessly, right up until the point where we got exploited, right? And that's in 3 months. So we were ready to deliver lending and borrowing. We were ready to start working on and pushing the pension. We're already in the process of working on, and probably towards the end of the year, going into the first quarter of this year, we would have had the mutual fund sorted as well, which is very complex. Yeah. And we did all of that in 3 months. You're telling me these guys with millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, right, can't produce anything? Come on, man. I just don't want to hear it. This is why I get so frustrated. And this is why I don't like SafeMoon. So, yeah. Do you have any opinion? And again, my opinion is to ask the question, why does it keep happening to SafeMoon, and why haven't they delivered anything with the resources that they've had? More than enough time to get it done. EU is asking, evening, is EGC still worth holding? I don't know. It's a question that you have to ask. You know, if you believe that they are solid, if you believe that the team is, you know, doing what they said, if you trust the team, then sure, why not? Thanks. I guess they can't find the tools to build the windmills. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Will the EGC wallet make a big difference? I don't know. I mean, look, if you look at kind of if you just develop a wallet and kind of produce that wallet and say, there you go, you know, this is a wallet and it's just a normal decentralized wallet, you throw your seed phrase in, then you can see all your tokens and whatever. Then no. Now, from my understanding, Atlas Wallet is like way beyond that. You know, there's a lot going on. You'll be able to do certain types of things, swaps and these types of things. But there's still 2 or 3 other wallets out there, Dive Wallet being one of them, that are in the process of, or already in the process of having delivered, you know, said products that do the same thing. So for me, it's not a question of will it make a big difference. I think anything can make a big difference if it's presented and delivered properly, right? So yeah, that's as far as I can go with that one. How do you decide when to take profits? Do you have a set dollar amount, or is it all about reading the charts and experience? Reading charts and experience. But I'll split that up into 2 things. So there's trading and there's investing, right? So if I go back to the charts as a trader, and I've always like predominantly I'm a trader. If I was to take a position, because I trade the Forex market, right? So if I was to take a position on, say, the pound USD today, right now, right? So let's say, just looking at this hourly chart, let me take a look at the 4-hour quickly. Yeah, so just looking at this hourly chart, if I was going to take a position on this, I'd short it right now, right now. I'm not saying do this, I'm giving you an example, but if I was going to do anything with the pound USD, I would short it right now. And basically I would have a stop around, in fact, you know what, we can do it this way. Nope. Sorry guys, 1 second. So if I was going to take a position, I believe it's this one, isn't it? So yeah, let's take a short position. So if I was going to do this, I'd short here, I'd have a stop about 20 pips, and then I would have a target about here, all right? And then I would leave it. So this, for me, I'm looking to basically get 30 pips. Yeah, it's defined by either the pips or the dollar amount, generally the pips. I'm in, I'm out. I'm not looking, you know, to worry too much about the structure of price, because for me to enter into a trade like this, I've already done the analysis, and I did this very quickly, obviously, but I look at Euro USD and the pound USD every day, you know, multiple times a day. I already know where it's at. I know what it's been doing, because I'm very close to this particular pair. It's my go-to pair pretty much for all my sort of bread and butter trades. But this is the type of trade that I would look to take, right? And it's not dependent on the chart reading when I'm in. Now with investing is completely different. So if we go over to XRP, for example, it's purely chart, right? So because I'm not looking to short XRP, this is a really important distinction to make. There's no variables when it comes to going long and short, right? It's just all long. You're investing in XRP, DOT, BNB, whatever, right? And as you're doing that, you're buying. I'm not looking to trade, i.e. sell or go long, to short or to go long. And as such, I try to position myself in spots where I'm either entering the market, like this is so important. I'm either entering the market when it is slowing down, right? Or I'm entering the market when it is breaking out. Yeah. So the slowdown, if price starts to come down, it's coming down, it's coming down, it's coming down, it's coming down, and then it starts to slow down here, and you can see that it's going sideways a little bit. I'm paying attention, because I know one of 2 things is going to happen. Either price is basically going to break out to the upside and then continue going, and we're going to get that nice reversal, or it's going to continue to the downside, and then we wait for that next slowdown point. As it's slowing down, it gives you time to think, instead of just saying, well, I'm just going to keep DCAing until I run out of money, right? So I'm looking for the slowdown. Obviously, we've had a pretty broad range consolidation here on the weekly, and then ultimately we've had this really nice breakout. So I purchased here on the first break. I know we've got liquidity. It's absorbed this here. I know there's a target up here at 55. It's a very clean investment. Very clean investment. Very clean initial first buy. Right now, we're seeing that continuation. So for me, it's not a question of dollar amount, or I've hit a percentage, or I've hit a dollar. It's where's the next point that makes sense to me. And based on everything that I said at the beginning, when I did the analysis on XRP, that's what I'd be looking for. Give me one second. So yeah, I hope that helps. I like to be clinical about the way that I invest or or trade, and I think it's important that we have a tool for everything that we're doing when it comes to investing or trading or whatever. Trading's different because trading you get in and out, and you're looking for bare minimum 1-to-1, and you can actually trade, with a losing batting average. I know a trader, and I actually did this myself for a little while. That is maybe 30% right most of the time, yeah, and 70% wrong, 80% wrong, and he makes money because these runners, they really go, man. I mean, they just go and go and go. So it's more about taking sort of multiple shots at something, and then ultimately one of them is gonna hit the target, and then just off it goes. So yeah, just something to consider there. And then outside of that, I just want to talk briefly as well about the SEC and the CFTC. Now, we don't know, what's going to happen and what the outcome of this is going to be. We can guess, but we don't really know, right? But we do know that the SEC and the CFTC are big players, right? And that they're always looking to do something in this market. And we know cryptocurrency is free, right? It has this ability to allow people to engage in a way that they want to engage, right? And because of that, the SEC and the CFTC, they're attacking cryptocurrency in a very clinical way, right? In the sense of, we need to regulate everything to protect investors. But the reality is that's not what it's about. It's about control. I firmly believe this. It is absolutely about control. We see the madness that happens in this space. Silicon Valley Bank, being an absolute perfect example of this. I don't know if you guys saw the latest, that Janet Yellen was saying. Somebody asked her about the $13.1 billion that was held by investors from China. And the person effectively asked her, will the smaller banks have to pay a small charge or subsidy, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that those larger investors receive the money that they deposited, right? And she basically said, in a nutshell, yes. Yeah, she says she can't talk to the investors because every investor is independent, but all investors will get their money back. But at what cost? That's effectively what this person was asking her. At what cost? Is it going to be at the cost of smaller banks? And she, in no right about way, basically said yes, it is going to be at the expense of smaller banks. I mean, that's disgusting. So the point I'm trying to make is that's okay. It's okay for all of that to happen. It's okay for these billionaires to get their money back. It's okay for all of these corporations to make sure they're safe and everything else. But the little guy, yeah, we're not really too interested about you, which adds credence to the fact that what they say and what they do are completely different. We're not seeing the SEC producing anything that tells us they care about the well-being of investors. We're seeing the complete opposite. So everybody now is defaulting to the SEC is attacking cryptocurrency because they can't control it. Yeah, that's it. And the CFTC is the same. I'm learning that most important thing is taking emotion out of it and not beating yourself up when you miss a position. Yeah, absolutely. Just imagine 500 million opportunities in your lifetime in the cryptocurrency market or any asset class. If you miss one, it really doesn't matter. That's just a really sort of example of why we shouldn't get so hell-bent on, when we miss a position, or we, get frustrated when we didn't get Bitcoin at 15K and all this. It doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter. The most important thing is to make sure that you're entering the market safely. If you enter the market safely, the money will take care of itself. So yeah, everything so far so good. Crypto seems to be holding pretty well. Not really seeing any signs of aggressive volume selling, buying coming into cryptocurrency at the moment. Altcoins aren't really moving that much either. Everything seems to have slowed right down, which begs the question: are we, is the market basically waiting for something pretty aggressive to happen? And if so, then obviously we will have to we'll have to see what the reaction is, as and when that comes. It could be to the upside, it could be to the downside. But one of the things I've always tried to do is be, pretty objective about my analysis. I like to just focus on what I'm seeing and then, act accordingly. All right. So unless anybody's got any more questions, I just wanted to jump on, just kind of keep the momentum going, keep the updates coming. I do feel we're teetering on something pretty spectacular, from now until the summer. And when I say spectacular, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a positive thing. It could be a negative as well. And this is why I want to try to stay as close to the markets as possible, try to give, as much information as I can, try to share my experience as much as I can. And if you're not already in the Discord, the link's in the description below. So make sure you're in there, because we constantly talk about a lot of things in there. There's always something happening. And you'll find as well that it's not an overly active Discord. It's only active when it matters. That's the key. We've developed this Discord to be active when it matters. People will post something, of relevance, during a time when it needs to be posted and people need to be paying attention and reading. So make sure you're definitely in the Discord. The link is in the description below. And with that said, I think we're good. Yeah, 26 minutes, just under 30 minutes. I want to go and get myself something to eat. I hope everyone has an absolutely fantastic evening. And I will chat to you guys soon. Ciao for now.